Okay, so if you're planning to study in Canada or already here, you have probably heard the news. There are some big changes coming to the post-graduation work permit rules. And this question is on everyone's mind. Is it even worth it anymore? Why should you still be considering Canada with these new requirements in place? I mean, the stake seems higher, right? But here's the thing, if you know how to work with these changes, it might actually play in your favor. And they are not completely shutting down the door. Stick with me for the next few minutes. I'll walk you through how you can still win with the new rules and what programs give you the best shot at staying here long term. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Hey everyone, welcome to Grit Tales. My name is Gautam Thuluku and thank you for watching my channel. If you haven't watched any of my previous videos, I try to bring in content related to HR, careers, life in Canada, and much more beyond that. Your journey, my story. Alright, here's what the plan is. After November 1st, 2024, the eligibility criteria for PGWP are getting tighter. Now, before you hit the panic mode, don't worry. There's a method to the madness. The government is tweaking these rules for a reason, to make sure they are only giving work permits to students who are trained in areas where the country actually needs more workers. And here's a question that you should ask yourself. How do I fit into this? And this is why you need to care, because Canada is still a great option if you play it smart. And they are prioritizing fields like healthcare, STEM, agriculture, trades, and transport. And it's not that they don't want international students. Trust me, they do. So they just want you to be strategic about your field of study. If you're someone looking into general programs that are not tied to these sectors, you might want to rethink your plan. And this is exactly what you would do in India as well, right? Or any country for that matter that you belong. You would evaluate which one has more career options and which one do I pick up. This is exactly what anybody would do typically. In that case, what you should do, and the million-dollar question is, how do you make sure you don't get stuck with all of these changes that are taking place? So let's break it down. The first and foremost one is the pick the right program. The government is basically telling you which sectors are screaming for talent. And those are agriculture and agri-food, healthcare, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and trades, and transport. These are the 5 categories that they have laid all of those courses into. And if you're smart, you're going to want to focus on these areas. And let's be real, if you're coming here to study something like anthropology and you're not planning on doing research in a high demand sector, it's probably going to be a lot tougher for you to land a work permit after you graduate. On the flip side, nursing, engineering, agriculture, tech, that's where the jobs are. That's what the government's looking for. And trust me, when I try to recruit for healthcare professionals, that's one of the toughest requirements that I feel in Canada, where the time to fill takes a longer time than any other requirements that are in there. So those are the areas that you should typically be focusing on. As soon as you graduate, that will land you into a job. Or even don't be surprised if you are going to be offered from some organization even if you graduate. Those are the demandable courses that you need to focus on. And there are some new language rules which you cannot skip. And this is a big one that a lot of students don't pay attention to until it's too late. If you're applying after November 1st, 2024, you will have to prove your English or French proficiency in order to secure a postgraduate work permit. And your CELPIP, IELTS, or TEF for French, which focuses on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And if you're coming here thinking, oh, I'll just wing it, don't do that. Language tests are now a requirement for your PGWP and they will check all 4 skills, so get practicing now. Since it's general that you need to take, like IELTS general is what you need to focus on. So in that case, that will also be helpful when you file your PR application. So it's like in one shot, you can apply for your PGWP. Eventually, you can use the same scores for your PR application because it's valid for up to 2 years, right? So technically, it's nothing new that they're asking for. Anyway, you have to take for PR application. So you're going to use it for both of the options as long as you're able to file your PR within 2 years. If it's getting delayed for any reason, then yeah, obviously you'll have to take it again if it is lapsing beyond 2 years. And let's get real for a moment. What happens if you don't pay attention to any of these criteria and you're just going by whatever the consultants say? Oh, you go and do your marketing course, or you just go and do human resources course, that's where you're going to get stuck once you land in Canada. For example, imagine you're 1 year into a marketing degree in Canada. That sounds cool. But here's the thing, marketing isn't on the priority list. So you graduate, apply for a PGWP, and potentially that gets declined. Because your field of study doesn't align with Canada's labor shortages, you don't want to be that person. It sounds harsh, but that's reality. Now let's look at the flip side of this. Imagine you're in a nursing program in Ontario. Guess what happens? There's a huge demand for healthcare workers, and potentially you may be able to earn up to $50 per hour at an entry-level package. So by the time you graduate, you will be in a sweet spot to get your PGWP approved and maybe even transition into a permanent residency at a faster scale than any other profession. It's a no-brainer. Picking the right field could be the key to staying here if you wish to. Let's see what's changing and what's staying the same as it was before. And let's talk details about it, because you're probably wondering what exactly is changing. The first one is field of study requirement. If you're applying for a PGWP after November 1st, 2024, you have to be in one of those in-demand fields we talked about earlier, which are agriculture, healthcare, STEM trades, transport, and that's all. No exceptions, absolutely. So if your program is not linked to those, it's going to be tough. I feel sorry for you about that, but second, language requirements. Like I said earlier, language tests are now mandatory. CELPIP, IELTS, PT, TEF for French, whatever it is applicable in your instance, you got to hit those language benchmarks, and the test needs to be taken within 2 years of application. So probably if you come to Canada using IELTS, probably that may not be applicable because that may be academic, and here you have to take a general test. So if your language skills are not up to the mark, that could be the difference between getting that work permit or not, because they have specific criteria. If you're from a university, from a master's program, so you will have to have a CLB 7. And if you are a graduate from any of the colleges, then you will have to have only CLB 5. So whatever is applicable in your case, you will have to have those minimum scores to even file your application. And without those minimum scores, I'm sure the system is not going to allow you to submit an application either. And now let's look into what's staying the same. If you are already studying in Canada, or you going to apply before November 21st, 24, you are in the clear zone where you automatically get the PGWP as per the earlier conditions. The new rules won't apply to you, so you must be graduating before the November 1st, which is October 31st typically. What this means for your future. Okay, you need to ask yourself, why am I studying in Canada? Is it just for the degree, or do you want to stay and build a life here? If it's the latter, you have got to align your goals with what Canada actually needs, and the government is being crystal clear about what they are looking for, so don't fight for it, work with it. This isn't just about choosing a program, it's about preparing for a long-term plan. And Canada still wants international talent, especially in sectors like technology and healthcare, but you have to be prepared. Think about your options carefully, focus on building the right skills, and don't overlook the language requirements, those test scores, and they're going to matter a lot. The more you practice, the better your scores are going to be. And let's wrap this up with some questions that you need to ask yourself or think about before you file your student application after November 2024. Are you in the right program? If not, is it too late to switch? Have you considered how the new rules will affect your PGWP application once you land in Canada? And are you ready for the language tests? And what's your current skill level? These changes might seem intimidating, but don't let them scare you off. Canada is still a land of opportunities, and if you're willing to play the game smart. So the question isn't, is Canada still an option? It's, how can you make it your best option? So you can drop your questions below if you're unsure about anything, and let's chat about it. And don't forget to subscribe so you stay updated on the latest changes to Canadian immigration and work permits. And if you found this helpful, hit that like button and let's keep the conversation going. And thank you for watching Grid Tales.